Hi, I'm Wayne Rickard, and I'm CEO of Terecircuits. I spent about 7 years at Seagate Technology, where I was the Vice President of Advanced Technology, and I introduced the consumer products line, which is today is about 20% of Seagate's business. Prior to that, I was an entrepreneur myself. I IPO'd my startup, Gadzooks Networks, in 1999, and we were fortunate enough to return about 100 times to our seed investors. Since 2009, I've been an investor myself with Tech Coast Angels, and Terecircuits is the first portfolio company that I've gotten involved with operationally. I met Dr. Janus Sheets and was very impressed with the technology in the company and joined as CEO. Dr. Sheets remains as Chief Technology Officer. She has a PhD in physical chemistry from Stanford. She's also an expert in microlithography and organic electroluminescence, which you probably more commonly know as OLED, the state-of-the-art display technology today. What Terecircuits does is we actually make microassembly possible. Now, microassembly is building electronics on a very small scale, nanometers, micrometers, things that are very, very small and very, very complicated. We do that with a combination of material science and polymers that we develop, and methods and tools that we've developed to exploit that process in a manufacturing environment. This is increasingly important because devices are getting more complex and the components that make them up are getting increasingly smaller. So a good example is the Apple Watch, which you can see in this chair down here. About 50% of the cost of this is the OLED display itself, which is a very complex device in its own right. This device is effectively a computer that you wear on your wrist. The Echo Loop is effectively an Alexa smart speaker that you wear on your finger. And here's an example of a colonoscopy device that is ingestible. This device travels through the colon, taking x-rays and sending them back to a medical practitioner. Again, an incredibly small device about the size of a vitamin. These are all challenges for microassembly, but the one we've chosen to focus on initially is micro LED panel assembly. And I think that'll be clear why we've chosen that as our beachhead market. You can see that the display industry cannibalizes itself about every decade. And right now we're seeing the incumbent liquid crystal displays being cannibalized by OLED. About 5 years ago, liquid crystal was about 75% of the market. And today we can see OLED and liquid crystal are neck and neck, about 50-50, with OLED gaining ground. If you're in the display equipment manufacturing or tooling market, I mean, these are the companies that make the tools that make displays, you're in an $8 billion market, and that is at risk because during these transitions, all of the assembly lines transition to new tooling. So if you're Applied Materials, for example, you've got 30% market share. That's a $2 billion line of business that's at risk if you miss a technology transition. And the fact is, we know what the next display technology transition will be. It will be micro LEDs. Micro LEDs are better than OLED in every measurable dimension, including costs. They're potentially cheaper. But there's really one big problem with micro LEDs in that they're incredibly small. A micro LED is smaller than a grain of pollen, about the size of a red blood cell. Here you see 5 of them on a head of an ant. And here's a conventional pick-and-place machine. It simply cannot build a complex device like a television, which could have 35 million of these incredibly small devices when it's operating at this speed. It's just too slow. It would take 58 days to build a 4K television using pick and place. So these tools don't scale up. You really need something that can handle thousands and thousands of components simultaneously. And that's really what Terecircuits does. We can meet this requirement with parallel pick and place. We can pick up thousands of components at one time and accurately place them with submicron accuracy. And we can do it much, much faster than conventional tools. Competitively, we're really superior to all the other approaches that are out there. They're either too expensive, too slow, they have yield problems, or they leave residue that requires a subsequent cleaning step. So we're very well positioned competitively. And the ecosystem is incredibly dense and rich. OEMs that you're familiar with, LG, Apple, Samsung, but also the tool manufacturers on the other side, like Applied Materials, again, they also are players in this space. And all of these companies are competing to be part of the next big transition in displays. We have early traction with some strategic investors already who acknowledge that this is the next big problem to solve. And at least one of these guys has expressed an interest in investing in our A round. Our A round is a $5 to $6 million round, our $20 million pre-evaluation. And we're excited about opening that round in October, and hopefully we'll be closed by March of next year. Thank you, and hope that you will follow up and take a look at some of our other material. We're very excited to be part of this process. Thank you.